Mic check 212, bitch.
What is up, guys? This is DDP back. First time, long time. Feels like I've been off for a long time here. I don't know about you, but it is a freaking monsoon outside of my house right now. But I said, you know what? Damn it. If I have the internet, I have to do it. I have to do the stream. So here we are. Might be condensed depending on what the weather does. If I get power knocked out, obviously. But so far, so good. So far, so good. So, first in the house, as always, I see we got Galeh. And we got, I think, maybe a newcomer here. At least someone I haven't seen a whole lot in the chat before. Matt Caldwell, what's good? D'Lo and Luka would be straight fire. Man, I think I agree. And the thing that I'm really encouraged about with that tandem particularly, I don't think that you have to have the ball always in D'Lo's hands. And that's something that would give them a little bit of a benefit in that regard as well. Gleh, can I get a happy birthday for tomorrow? Oh, yeah, hell yeah, Gleh. Happy birthday for tomorrow. Happy early birthday for sure. One of our first always in the house. Not a problem at all, buddy. Abraham Young, what's up? Yeah, so sorry for the little delay here. Obviously, last Sunday when I got back in town, it was a little bit late. I had planned on doing a live stream then, but then had the AC knocked out at my house. And at the time, I think it was like 93 already. And with these lights, if I had tried to go live, I basically would have been roasting alive on the stream here with you. I would have been flush red face. So I just decided to put a pin in that. And it took about 3 days before I finally got the AC sorted out. So, anywho, here we are now. We don't have any in-house as we initially planned. Of course, it's Father's Day, so I understand. Happy Father's Day to everyone, by the way. Whether it's for your father or if you're a father yourself, happy Father's Day. Annie is doing some family stuff today, and I think he also had some good family news. I believe he said it was his brother and his wife are expecting, so it looks like Annie might be becoming an uncle. So, hey, congrats to Annie on that front as well. So we'll have to bring him on another time, and of course with the weather, it makes it extra complicated to have brought him out. He and I don't live terribly close, but we make it work usually. Rangers King, what's good? Draft coming soon, and Wings just won yesterday. Very nice, very nice. The draft is coming soon. Mavericks have the 37th overall pick. I know that Annie and Max have some thoughts on who they want to target. I've not dug particularly deep into that. Admittedly, I am not much of a deep draft guy in that regard. I have a general idea of who they're talking about, but I leave that to Annie, and that's one of the losses of not having Annie on here today because I know he wanted to talk about all that. Let's see. Cheers to all the Eagles, or all the fathers out there that didn't raise Eagle fans. Yes, indeed. Indeedy so. So, yeah, let's talk about this hypothetical here. I know it's a bit of a divisive subject, but as you see in the thumbnail behind me, it does bear some mentioning. Obviously, you had the big blockbuster trade going down, not officially, but agreed to in principle. It goes down on the 30th, I believe, is the soonest the Lakers will have the cap space basically open for them to sign another max player. But the Anthony Davis blockbuster is basically complete now. Boston missed out. Who was another team that was supposed to be going after him? Another significant team. I mean, it was basically the Lakers and Boston were the only ones really in this discussion. So Lakers get their man, and hey, to their credit, it saves them from a disastrous offseason. Between how last season ended after the trade deadline with LeBron basically making it known that, hey, anybody and everybody on this roster save for me is available if it means getting AD in here. He pretty much lost his team at that point. Then you had them, flame out LeBron's streak of 8 straight finals appearances. Not just snapped, but he didn't even make the playoffs. New York, that was it. Good call. Can't catch him. And Gleh as well. Yes, the Knicks were also in on the Anthony Davis sweepstakes. But the Lakers miss out on the playoffs. You have the disastrous, baffling departure of Magic Johnson out of nowhere. You start hearing that the front office is a complete and total and utter train wreck. And it basically just made it where agents and players weren't that interested in going there. Like, they had to get the Anthony Davis deal done. Because if they missed out on Anthony Davis, I don't know how popular of a destination they would be this summer. So now Now that they have them, they have two legitimate superstars. They immediately become a significant threat. Oh, hey, and credit to them, the Lakers, they held on to Kyle Kuzma, which I thought was a very good negotiating tactic to not give him up, but to still get your man. Who all was in the deal? We had Hart, we had Lonzo Ball, we had Brandon Ingram, and 3 first-rounders, I believe. So a pretty nice haul for New Orleans. None of those guys, Lonzo Ball, I think, could be a pretty nice player, but there's not a lot in there that I look at right now. Of course, they got the number 4 overall pick, which they're going to pair with the number 1 overall pick they already have. That'll give them Zion, so Ball plus Zion plus the number 4 pick, whoever they take there. 2 future first-rounders beyond that, I think 2021 and 2023, because you can't give up your number 1 pick in back-to-back years. So interesting to see how that shakes out, but this saves the Lakers offseason, I think, for them. And here's why that's problematic, because now the report is they are going to go balls out to get Kemba Walker, and that has a tie to the Mavericks. A lot of people were speculating that it was going to be Kyrie Irving that they went after. LeBron has expressed interest in playing with Kyrie again. Kyrie has expressed interest in playing with LeBron again. But, again, tying back to this thumbnail behind me, the word is that Kyrie Irving to Brooklyn looks all but done. You had Kyrie separating from his agent after opting out of his player option with Boston next year and signing with Rock Nation, one of the big influences and founders there, Jay-Z, who previously had a shared ownership or a partial ownership in the Nets, was a big part of bringing them to Brooklyn. So there's all of that there. There's a lot of interesting ties that seem to suggest that Kyrie to Brooklyn is going to happen. It gives Kyrie the New York market he wanted. And, hey, I would love it if the Knicks struck out on their big free agent pushes as well, with all the smack their fans have been talking ever since the Kristaps Porzingis, series of headlines, unfortunately, since he got acquired in that deal for the Mavericks. But if Brooklyn were to sign Kyrie Irving, they are, quote, extremely unlikely, or rather, I believe very unlikely. If I'm going to say quote, I should probably get it right. Very unlikely to re-sign D'Angelo Russell. Now, D'Angelo Russell has had an interesting career to this point. He's still only 23 years old. He is coming off of his first All-Star season. Very good player, killer in terms of three-point shooting. If he can play off ball a little bit, then I'm very intrigued about the possibility of having 23-year-old Kristaps Porzingis, 23-year-old D'Angelo Russell, and 20-year-old Luka Doncic as my core trio going forward. I think that is very interesting. Now, Kemba's a guy who obviously has shown he can give you, 60 in a night if he has to. But Kemba's 30 years old, and you look at how he fits with LeBron and Anthony Davis in LA, gives him a bigger market, still gives him a max deal. And for a guy who's 30 years old and has never really won anything, that is way more ready-made for him to come succeed. Now, I expect the Mavericks to still put up a fight in negotiations to try and recruit him to come sign with them. But I think the Lakers probably have the inside edge at this point. So if the Lakers really aren't going to, whether they don't get him or whether they're not going to go super hard for Kyrie, I think Kemba Walker is probably the favorite. If he leaves Charlotte, is probably the Lakers in my mind right now. But if that happens, again, D'Angelo Russell is also opening up here, and that's still intriguing to me. Let me hit some of these comments here. I see you guys flying in, so I want to make sure that I'm hitting the highlights of all your guys' comments here. Let me know what you think in the comments if you'd be interested in, or the chat, whatever, if you'd be interested in Russell to the Mavericks. Let's see. If New York gets nobody, I'll be so happy. I agree, Gleh. I don't care what the Lakers think they're doing. Mavs will be coming soon. Trust. I get you for sure. You think the Lakers make the finals now that the Warriors superstars have 2 of them out for a year? I think it makes them a contender for sure. We got to see if they can get that third guy to go with it. But health is going to be a big thing. LeBron had 8 straight years of going to the finals, plus in the middle of all that 2 Olympics runs, so gold medal runs for the Olympics. That's a lot of freaking miles. I know LeBron's a freak, but we're talking about a guy in his mid-30s who, think about all the extra mileage he's had on him with all those deep playoff runs, let alone the 8 straight years in the NBA Finals. Yes, he's finally getting his first full offseason of rest. That's, I guess, the silver lining for Laker fans if they really wanted to look at how the team finished the year last year. But I think you are going to see a little bit of a slowdown from LeBron. Not like he's going to drop out of otherworld elite status. He'll still be a top 5, maybe top 3 player still. I just think the days of him being unquestionably the best night in, night out might be a little bit behind him. And what I mean by that is not playoffs. I'm talking regular season. LeBron is notorious for not going balls out in the regular season because he understands, especially in recent years, he can turn it on late and in the playoffs, and that's where he's going to burn himself up. So as a result, you'll see him not trying on defense. You'll see him not always attacking rebounds if it's a middle of the season game. So Anthony Davis is another thing there. He's not had any real major injuries in his career, but he has had several knick-knack injuries that have kept him out here and there, some time here and there. So as a result of that, that's something that you're going to have to keep an eye on. If the two of them can't stay healthy, that's going to be problematic for them. But of course, if you got a quality team with 3 guys that can score the ball and can take over a game and you're all healthy in the playoffs, then yeah, you're going to be a threat for anybody. I would say it makes them a for sure contender. I don't know that I would paint them in and say that they are the favorite, but certainly a legitimate contender to go to the Western Conference Finals and then obviously maybe to the finals. But let's see. Lakers have LeBron, AD, Kuz, and nobody else. Again, if they're getting Kemba Walker or Kyrie Irving, which I think they'll get one of those two, if they're getting them, then they're going to have another baller of a point guard. Let's see here. Had Lonzo on the shop, and then weeks later, he just sent him to New Orleans. I love that. I love this league. Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. Kuzma is not some sort of savior. He's not a savior, but I think he's a nice young prospect and certainly a guy you'd like to hang on to. And I think that was the right move for them. Plus, they distance a little bit from the distraction of the Ball family, particularly LeVar Ball. So I think that works for them as well. Rangers King. In addition to the picks, they also swap picks with the Lakers too. There you go. They also have pick swaps with the Lakers there. Nathaniel Legendary Fan, what's up? I think the Pelicans have a brighter future than the Lakers, you're saying. Brighter than the Lakers. I think the Lakers have opened up a championship contending window for the next 3 to 5 years, depending on what moves they make. Beyond that, Pelicans, I like a lot what they're doing. Obviously, you're going to get Zion, and you have the number 4 pick as well. Again, I think Ball can be a very good point guard for them. And yeah, I mean, they've got to try and hang on to probably Julius Randle as well. He's going to opt out of his player option because he's only set to make $9 million next year if he were to opt in. And he's easily outperformed that. He was a 20-8 guy last year for them playing alongside Anthony Davis. And a lot of that stretch, he was playing without Anthony Davis as well. And he's a guy who has extended his range. So one of the biggest knocks on him the previous offseason when his market was lowballed and he wound up 2 years for $18 million, he's addressed that. So another interesting prospect there. I do like what the Pelicans are doing. I do think they got a pretty good haul. But if in this black and white world where people want to say, this team won the trade, this team lost the trade, I don't view it that way. But if you want to say who won more in the short term, certainly it feels like the Lakers in the short term. But long term, I think you could be pleasantly surprised maybe with what you get from the Pelicans. I feel bad for the Pels. They got LeVar and a pick in 25. Oh, boy. They got more than that, Kent. Again, they got the number 4 overall pick this year, so they have 2 top 5 picks now. And, of course, Ingram, you mentioned Ball, and Hart as well. Pels want to flip. The Pels want to flip number 4. Well, if they're flipping number 4, I'd be curious to see what next move they're making. If they're making a move to move the number 4 overall pick they just acquired, then they have a chance to have an even better turnout. Pels have some nice pieces if they can hold on to Randall. I agree. In order for the Lakers to have the cap room to max Kemba, they have to wait until the 30th. July 30th. Okay, interesting. I thought it was June 30th. Maybe I misread that earlier. Good call out, Max. And we'll never pick the next 2 years and 2 years after that. Let's see. Yeah, let's not use... Let me see here. Yeah, let's not use that word on here. Doesn't matter though. The bro and the Bron. Yep. All right, so I'm gonna skim through the rest of these, just make sure I get caught up. Give me D'Lo over Kemba, says Gle. Can't catch him, says we don't need Kemba. I'd take D'Lo over 30-year-old Kemba. Build for the future. Let's get Randall. We aren't getting any of those guys, so stop tripping. Says Rangers King. Wouldn't take all the scoring away from Luka. Would take all the scoring away from Luka, says Micker45. And Porzingis, I don't think they need us another score-first player. Eric Anthony, what's up, Mavs fan? What's good? Houston is not giving away their top 2 seed. Lakers are top 4. We don't know what Houston's even going to be next year is the thing. They've basically made it known that anybody not named James Harden is available. I don't know that they're going to be able to move Chris Paul because they gave him the most mind-bogglingly stupid contract for his age. Like a $200. Yeah, that'd be great. $200 million max contract for like a 36-year-old point guard at the time. Like, just baffling. So I don't know what they're going to look like, but I do think Houston could drop off a little bit. Again, they got Harden, and we've seen what they've been able to do with that the last few years, but they're still missing something, and they know they're missing something, so they're going to have to make some real changes. We are the come-up, not next year, top 8, yes, but getting there, promise. Yeah, I think the Mavericks are building towards something significant here. Obviously, you have Luka and you have Porzingis. If Porzingis is the Porzingis of old, let alone if he's somehow better, like he continues to improve, then that's going to open a lot of possibilities for the Mavericks moving forward in the future. And I do think they're going to make some kind of move. I don't know if that's Malcolm Brogdon. I don't know if that's another player kind of in that middle tier. Again, Brogdon I think would be a perfect fit. I don't know if it's one of those middle tier guys or what we're looking at exactly, but these are the discussions being had regarding some of the flashier names showing up. So I wanted to pick your guys' thoughts. As much as I wanted to discuss the possibilities of it with you, I wanted to pick your brain, see what your thoughts are. Hey, is that the number 9 Romo jersey, asks Brett Bender. It is not the number 9 Romo jersey. I wish it was the number 9 Romo jersey. I would take the number 9 Tony Romo Dallas Mavericks jersey. Unfortunately, this is a bet payoff, and this is a shameful, disgraceful, painful, makes my skin burn and itch, which is why I always have to wear an undershirt Rajon Rondo Mavericks jersey. And I have to wear it for the entire offseason for every Mavericks live stream, or if we do a live remote event with you guys somewhere, we got to do it. I got to do it then. So good times. Not really. Luka and the Unicorn is just starting. Give it some time. Yep. Seriously, with all the tampering going on Anthony Davis wanting to go only to the Lakers, the NBA should have vetoed. I feel like it's tough because we had obviously the original Chris Paul trade to LA for to the Lakers vetoed when the NBA owned the New Orleans franchise briefly, and that you could honestly make an argument that the haul that New Orleans got for Chris Paul from the Clippers was not as good as the trade that got vetoed by the NBA that would have sent him to the Lakers to play alongside Kobe. And Laker fans will swear up and down to this day that that was the fall of their franchise after their 2 titles. They'll ignore that we swept them to end any three-peat notion they had, but, it's still worth noting. I don't think the NBA was going to veto again. I know it's a different commissioner now. It's Adam Silver. It's not David Stern, but I don't think they were ever going to veto another superstar to the Lakers trade. I think that would have had too much of a public backlash with, the Lakers are kind of like, to an extent, kind of like to the NBA what the Cowboys are to the NFL. Not in terms of like world sports franchises, but probably the or one of the biggest for sure. Ken Ketchum, are you feeling nervous at all about Luka winning Rookie of the Year? Not the least damn bit. Not the least bit. I shared something the other day. It was just an article talking about something that every rookie basically from this past class can improve on. Obviously, Luka, he needs to improve on his free throw shooting. There's some little stuff here and there. It considered it the critical things they need to work on. there's little things he can work onto his game. Obviously, defense can always get better. And, free throw shooting, that was big for him late in the year, I felt. So that would be his, but Trae Young, man, he was 514th out of 514 players on defensive real plus-minus rating. You can fix free throw shooting. I don't know that you can fix defensive plus-minus rating to that extent necessarily, especially when you're not especially fast and when you're a little bit of an undersized point guard in that regard as well. So it's not a question who Rookie of the Year is, even if we weren't talking full year, even if we weren't talking they're just stats, side by side. Complete player, it's Luka of that class. So Luka's your Rookie of the Year. To me, that's an obvious. If Kawhi stays in Toronto, Toronto is going back-to-back, says Galea. I don't think Kawhi is staying in Toronto. I don't. You had during I think it was game 1 or 2. Yeah, you had I take it back. It was in the Eastern Conference Finals when they clinched to go to the finals. You had Kawhi's sister doing like some Q&A on Instagram live stream, and in the background was Kawhi's uncle, who was notorious in kind of helping wedge that relationship between him and San Antonio. By the way, Kawhi's uncle is who's basically raised him, not his father. Because I think his father died when he was young. I don't mean to imply that he walked out or anything, but I believe that was the story I heard. Anyway, and his uncle in the background can be heard kind of laughing like about the Toronto fans and everything, like, oh yeah, get it, celebrate him now, enjoy him now because he ain't staying, something to that effect. So I think even with him winning a championship there, I honestly think Kawhi Leonard's still LA bound. I don't think he goes to the Lakers. I've heard nothing saying that he wants to play with the Lakers. And again, as Max pointed out, the Lakers have salary cap issues in that regard anyway. If they wanted to add any max level player, I think he's going to go to the Clippers. And Clippers could get damn good. They were already a very good balanced team last year, very strong bench. And now you add in Kawhi Leonard, a bona fide star, and a guy who, when he's playing at his best, is among the 3 best players, maybe 2 best players in the league right now. That could be scary for sure. Let me see here. Have you heard what players the Mavs have been working out for the draft? Looks like Rangers Kings already answering that a little bit. Want Darius Baisley. Don't think he'll fall to the second round. Yep. The NBA wouldn't be allowed to veto the trade because the Board of Governors wouldn't allow the NBA to do that if they didn't own the team. So you're saying, Max, that the only reason they were able to veto the trade is because it was their own franchise they were running at the time for Chris Paul, like for the New Orleans at the time? Interesting twist. Wasn't aware that was the logic behind it, that they vetoed it as the franchise and not as the league. Interesting. Not worried, just saying. Someone trying to make it a close race, my ass. Agreed. We have no idea whether Kawhi's uncle said that or not. It's just speculation. We just know somebody said it. Well, fair enough. We heard the audio on it from the video. She deleted the video and then said it was just a random troll hanging out with her, which I don't know why you're doing that, streaming the close proximity of troll, and then why you delete the video and say, like, oh, no. Like, I'm pretty sure she ended the stream quickly thereafter, but I still think Kawhi is probably LA bound for the Clippers or something to that effect. I don't think Lakers. I don't mind the Clippers being good as long as the Lakers are smoked. Agreed. Did you see the Mavs using the trade? Oh, do I see the Mavs using the trade exception to make a move before the draft or draft night? I think you'll see it probably draft night, either right before the draft, like the day of, or during the draft. I don't know what they'll make on that move. They could, if they really wanted to, they could have the biggest trade exception in NBA history at $30 million. But again, that is your entirety of your move. That's your cap space plus that at that point. I don't think that's going to be the direction that they go. They have, I think it's like a $14 million exception right now as is. So that's something obviously very valuable to them. And that's why it's hard to really map out all the different possibilities for the Mavericks right now with this offseason. Not just the difficulty of Can we recruit this guy? Do the Mavericks really want this guy as much as we want this guy, or as much as the fans are talking about this guy? We don't know what the exact figure looks like because we don't know if they're going to if they're going to be able to either trade or stretch provision. Courtney Lee, we don't know if they're going to, we don't know if they're going to use that trade exception at a higher value or not. So there's just so many things going on to consider that it gets a little bit muddy at this point. And all we can say is like, well, this guy fits into a scenario for the Mavericks. So we can talk about that and we can explore a little bit of those possibilities. But connecting an actual roadmap and not just kind of like a puzzle piece, one piece at a time, gets a little bit sketchier. Obviously, the closer you get, the more those puzzle pieces start to line up and you get that picture. Should the Mavs take a chance on Dragon Bender? He's a young, cheap 7-footer. Asks Day Park 14. I'd have to look closer at him, see what that would come out to. But a young, cheap 7-footer is never a bad thing if he can actually play defense and if he's got any kind of mobility. Could be intriguing. Basically, what happened is the GMs made the trade. The league caught wind of it, and as the owners of the Hornets, they were forced to make the trade cancel. Gotcha. $20 million is the trade exception, says Isaiah Hunt. Okay. Very nice, even better. How confident are you that the Mavericks can lure a big-name free agent, asks Matt Caldwell. How confident am I? I would say, it depends on what you call a big-name free agent, right? Like, you have your tiers. Obviously, your superstar tier is going to be your Kawhi, your Durant. I would even, you could argue he's in that next tier. I would say even Clay, to me, would fit in that. Basically, your primo, if you land it, holy shit, we got him. I don't know. I don't think they can get anyone out of that. I know there's some speculation. We can get into that now because I didn't get to go live in the middle of the week like I had planned. People talking about the possibility, if you're the Mavericks, knowing that next year is more so about Luka and KP playing together and this team's probably not a championship team next year, would you be willing to max out Kevin Durant right now, sit the year out? Know you have the year out for him, but know that even if he only returns to 80% of Kevin Durant form, which is about the ballpark of what guys coming off an Achilles tend to come back to, especially guys around 30 years old, like Durant's just a little over, would that be of interest to you? It's a bit of a divisive subject. Obviously, I have my personal issues with Kevin Durant, the locker room influence, and kind of showcase that he is off the court, even regarding like the media in some situations. But adding a player of that caliber, if you could add him, knowing you're signing him to a 4-year max deal, would you be willing to do that, knowing that, hey, next year you still have the chance of being a playoff team with Luka and KP? It's more about their growth and their development, and then you, following year, already have Durant on the books, and then it's probably even easier to get another, I'm not saying another superstar, obviously, because you wouldn't have the money at that point, but you have then the ability to lure other good role players to your team once you have that combination coming in. It's intriguing. I don't think it's very likely, but I think if you're Dallas, sure, you absolutely have to kick the tires on that and put the consideration out there. As for Clay could be back probably after the All-Star break, sometime after the All-Star break next year. He's coming off an ACL injury, not an Achilles like Durant. So I tend to think Clay would still be my favorite pick, but Clay's dad has already said that he's basically, no doubt, re-signing with the Warriors. The Warriors said that their plan was to offer both him and Durant max contracts, max them out this offseason. Obviously, Durant's been a mystery all year what he was going to do. I still think Durant, his value is not going to be very hurt. He'll still go get a max contract somewhere, whether that's the Knicks, whether that's somewhere else, I don't know, but I think Durant probably does move on. Rangers King, I'd pass on Bender here, LOL. He's still struggling to figure things out. Fair enough. There's the context I was looking for. They're trying to stay quiet about it, so nobody looks at him too. I missed the context on that, I guess. Is there someone the Mavs are looking at, but Mavs think he'll be gone in the second round? I know they got a couple names of interest, and again, this is the segment I had any preparing. Something that he and I are trying to do moving forward in the show is to have each of us have, like, we have obviously like probably 4 or 5 topics in general we want to tackle in a stream, but we each have segments that we individually anchor and prepare. Draft side is any side that we're doing. So that's something with him being a late scratch today from the show. That's a segment that kind of got put on hold for now, but we'll do something on it. Whether we're able to do anything for the draft, I don't know, but we will be live streaming when the free agency period begins on the 30th at, I think it's 4 o'clock our time, Central Time. So we'll have that live stream going, and that'll be the Mavs Fastbreak free agent tracker live stream bonanza, whatever you want to call it. We're done with Kemba now, right? Asks Jacob Perkins. He fits the LA timeline much more than ours. D'Lo, in terms of age, fits more with us. However, I've been seeing a lot of hesitation with maxing out Russell. Why is that? Asks Jacob Perkins. So here's the thing. Russell was a bust in LA. He was done well by the change of scenery to Brooklyn, and it finally kind of all put together this last season. Part of that is you had the thing when he was still in LA, he was still an immature kid, where he basically recorded and posted video from a locker room thing with someone in the locker room, I forget who, basically talking about cheating on their girlfriend in the case. And he was like streaming video or recorded video and posted it of his dude. So basically just broke ultimate locker room and bro code stuff. Just the dumbest thing you could do if you want to ever have trust in a team again. He did that, and that was what kind of set fire to the bridge for him in his remaining time with LA at that point. I think they moved him that same offseason to Brooklyn as part of the Brook Lopez trade. And he finally kind of put it all together with Brooklyn. But even then, at the very end of the Brooklyn season, he had a situation where he got arrested in an airport, had a canister of basically a fake bottom canister that had a compartment with weed. I guarantee you NBA players do that all the time. The problem is they usually fly private and they don't have to get checked. And his dumbass basically did something stupid. But yeah, he's a guy that's had a couple knuckleheaded moments. And again, the first one is a bigger issue to me because it's trust and it's your relationship within your locker room. But because that's now been, several years now and he's matured as a player, I think that's probably enough behind him. He can get past it. That's one reason people cite. They also have concerns of him being a score-first point guard and too ball-dominant at times. So those are the valid reasons they would bring up there. In terms of a prospect, again, a 23-year-old all-star to pair with your 23-year-old superstar and 20-year-old superstar, yeah, I would be interested in that still. Is it a perfect fit? I don't think so, but the thing is, to get a complete slam dunk perfect fit is very difficult to do. You have to consider how we've done and what we've won in recent years in terms of games, and then you have to ask yourself, does this make us much better? Does this help us be a playoff team and a team that can win a playoff series at least next year? That's obviously the goal, is to not just get there, but get there and compete and to actually move on. Hey, salute to the, what do we got here? Oh, salute for the donation. Appreciate you. Aqua, salute for the $1 donation. But yeah, that's something that they have to consider. You want to not just get there and be there and be happy to be there. You want to get there and have a chance, if not be able to advance the next round. Can't catch them. Salute, sir. So that's the goal. And I still think you can do that with Russell. There's that. Let's see here. Paul H., what's up? What about Thomas Bryant as a young center? Let's see here. It's intriguing. Let me see. If you guys want to make sure that I hit your comment, because I get lost sometimes going through this whole scroll thing, hit the tag prospect. Rangers King knows how to do that. So tag at the Dallas prospect, and that'll help me see it. It highlights it orange for me. Let me see. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting on a question to me and not just chat amongst people within the comments. Swaggy P. I'm surprised he wasn't on a team. I mean, I know he was on Denver briefly this year, but I'm surprised he didn't get picked up because he's a quality enough player that I'm surprised that like an OKC or someone like that didn't pick him up last year around the what is it I'm looking for? The buyout market deadline. I love your range with the draft. Oh, he's talking to Max. Yep. I think people are looking at D'Lo's age, trying to match up Luka and KP over his playstyle and overall ball dominant player. Yep. Thanks for keeping the Mavs spirit alive. Will do. Can't catch him. We getting Boogie this offseason. First name, last name. Yo, DDP. On Boogie Cousins, here's my thing, man. I definitely don't max out Boogie. I don't. At this point, he had the Achilles injury. He missed a year with the Achilles. Then he played for a couple months, and then he tore his quad. Yes, he returned for the finals, and yes, I understand he wasn't 100%. And he still made some plays. He still contributed out there, but I don't know, man. He's a big dude. He's like 270, 280. Boogie's a big dude, and there's some explosion to his game. Now, I know he has some range. He can also shoot some threes and all that, but I don't think you're going to ever see the Boogie Cousins you saw in New Orleans, which was, a 26-13 guy, 27-13 guy alongside Anthony Davis. I don't think you're going to see that Boogie Cousins again. And for the money he might want to command now, because you look at him, what did he get out of this year? He came back, he showcased himself a little bit, but then he had another significant injury. And yeah, he got to the finals, but he didn't even get a ring out of it. The Warriors have no money to re-sign him. They're basically saying, hey, for his sake, I hope he's not even an option for us because I hope he can go get more money elsewhere. Cousins is going to move on. He's going to have to try and get a deal. Some guys come back and they know even if they're playing a short year in that case, hey, at least I'll get a ring and I'll get a chance to showcase myself a little bit to intrigue people. I feel like people right now probably look at Cousins and say like, ooh, do I want to pay him like a good team, for instance? A good team might look at him and be like, do I want to pay him starter money right now? Like, for instance, Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell's making $10.2 million this year. If I'm paying more than 13 or 14 a year for Boogie right now, I have reservations. I'm happier paying Dwight his 10.2 than Boogie 13 or 14, I think, is where I'm at. So for me, I've tapped the brakes pretty hard on Boogie Cousins to Dallas. And I've wanted him in Dallas for years, for the record. That's just the latest kind of development. It's crazy. Sports are fluid, as Jean-Jacques Taylor always says on ESPN. And it's true. Things are always changing and changing the context for you. Abraham Young, F Boogie. I'll be happy if we can either get Brogdon, Pat Bev, or Julius Randle. I would say if we're going in that class, I mean, obviously Brogdon, I'm thrilled. But if we're in that class of guys, I would want Pat Beverly and somebody like... You guys gave me some business when I was talking about my interest in Danny Green. Yeah, he nearly cost the Raptors a stupid championship with that asinine turnover with 10 seconds left and a 1-point lead in the deciding game. But, he's also a guy who played pretty well, I thought, in the finals. He's a 3-and-D guy. Yeah, he's a little north of 30, but I think that's another quality guy that would fit well with our team and definitely some veteran leadership. Wait, there's a Spider-Man 4 movie coming out? Not sure the context on that. There's probably another Spider-Man movie. There's the new Marvel one, Far From Home. It's not Spider-Man 4, though. I would rather take 2 to 3 free agents to fill up the roster. Yes, I agree. Bogdanovich can also be a good addition. Yep. I believe we can get Julius, says Kent. Gabriel Paulin, what's up? Thoughts on packaging Justin Jackson and Tim Hardaway Jr. plus future draft picks for another possible star, maybe like Andre Drummond or Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think there's any way we're getting Karl Anthony Towns. I don't think there's any way of that. Drummond doesn't play a lot of defense. He is a guy that can get you a double-double. He can give you a 20 and 10 for sure. I like Justin Jackson, though, and I get it. That's, in your mind, the asset we're giving up. Tim Hardaway Jr., I think he could be nice for us off the bench in like a sixth-man kind of role, but he's a volume scorer. That's what he is. He's a volume scorer and largely an okay defender, not a great defender. So I think that's still going to be a tough swing unless unless like Detroit, for instance, was just like, okay, yeah, we're gonna blow this up. Now they didn't trade Blake Griffin at the deadline last year like some people thought they might. I haven't heard if Detroit's looking to rebuild right now, where they're going to try and move some or all of their parts, significant parts. I certainly want nothing to do with Reggie Jackson. But yeah, I would be interested in that. Obviously, Blake Griffin's not going to be your return on that, but Drummond, I would have some interest. I just don't think he pairs right alongside. Now, he'll give you the rebounding that you'll lose with KP, but he doesn't pair right alongside him as a defender, I don't think. So I would pass on that. AD and Braun versus Luka and Porzingis. Who wins? Next year it's probably going to be the Lakers tandem there, LeBron and AD. Here's the thing though. Again, it's 23 and 20 versus what is LeBron at this point? 35? 35 and 29, 30? I'm trying to think of what their ages are off the top of my head. So the Lakers probably have an edge in that for a year, maybe two. But I certainly think if Luka and KP keep their kind of current trajectory, that'll be a fantastic rivalry when we play the Lakers. And it's always fun when you got, now with the Mavericks looking forward, and especially with all these two-man tandems that you got throughout a stacked Western Conference. Now you have like, all right, it's our two against their two, like our two stars against their two stars. Obviously, it's the whole team and the whole team, but there's more narrative behind it, right? That was part of what made the finals in 2011 so great. It wasn't just Dirk there. Of course, that would have been enough, but it was Dirk and Jet, the last remnants of that 2006 team that should have gotten it done. And it was Miami. And they also had Wade and Haslam. I know Haslam didn't have a huge role at that point, but Wade was still Wade. And so it felt like a clash. You had two men on each team that were from that previous pairing, and it just kind of fueled the storyline more. And so that was really cool. I want Willie Cauley-Stein over Boogie, to be honest. Yeah, he's a guy that hasn't, I don't think, ever really put it all together. But over Boogie, yeah, I think maybe that's still a fair assessment. I don't think Boogie's signing another one-year deal. I think he kind of got bit in the ass this last time doing that, so I can't really see that happening, but maybe if he has no good offers to a good team, he still considers that to try and recoup his value. Get him like 11 for 1 year, says Gleh, regarding Boogie. I don't know that he takes that. I think he's at a point where he's going to try and take a big money deal, even if it means going to a middle-of-the-road kind of team or a fringe playoff team. Mavs can't trade any future first-rounders due to the KP trade, and Tim Hardaway Jr. plus JJ isn't much value. Yeah, I agree, and that's a good call-out on the KP deal, preventing us from dealing firsts for the foreseeable future until that runs its course. Danny Green feels out of reach. Can we just have Thomas Sorbansky? Yeah, fair enough. Trade for Capella, says first name, last name. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we really have the assets to give Houston the kind of return they want on it, and they're not just going to jettison his cap. They're going to look to get something a little bit in return for him. And there are still some fit issues with him alongside KP. In some senses, it makes a lot of sense. And in other senses, it doesn't. I think I've come around on the side now where I'm not in favor of it. I don't hate it, but I think I'm enough leaning against it that I'm like, let me see what else I can do over here first. Set this on the back burner, and if we start getting a little bit close to 2 a.m., so to speak, then maybe I'll look back that direction. I think if we get a guy for like $18 million and another for $11 million, that would be the biggest W for the offseason we can go, says Isaiah Hunt. Yeah, that'd be pretty nice to get two players of that caliber, but there's probably more that they're going to do. They're going to address something with center, I think. I still think they're going to do something, and I think they need a point guard for sure. I love Brunson. I think Brunson's a great off-the-bench guy and a great guy if you're going to run a two-guard lineup in some situations to be there. I just don't see him as my everyday starting point guard. Maybe in general, but certainly for now. Any chance Kawhi leaves the Raps? Yeah, I think that's my gut, is that he still leaves. Off topic, how long does it take you to grow out your hair? Prospect. This is probably about a year, a little over a year maybe, but I trim it every now and then. Obviously, every 6 to 8 weeks I'll do some kind of trim. It's kind of unruly right now because I was messing with the, there was like a monsoon outside my house, and I was trying to get the dogs in, and of course my dog Red, he's like a lab mix. He always carries his toys out there and then leaves them, so I was trying to bring them in before they get just completely soaked. So, yeah. Takes a little time, but I always like it. I like having the long hair better than the short hair. When I did cut my hair like a little over a year ago, I pretty much within 2 days just hated that I did that because I knew how long it was going to take. Any chance KD or Kawhi take the meeting with Cubes? KD in his history, he had the one incident where when he was still with the Thunder, he was defending Russell Westbrook, and he called Mark Cuban an idiot when Cuban said something critical of Westbrook. I believe that was in the 2016 playoffs, actually. So that's really the only thing KD ever had against the Mavs in general that we know of. We know how much he respects Dirk and guys like that. So it's taking a meeting. I think we could maybe get a meeting. Kawhi, I don't see us getting a meeting with Kawhi. I think Kawhi's done with Texas. I think he's always wanted California, and he went from Texas where it's, balls hot to Toronto where it's freaking cold as hell. Let's see here. Every time I watch Drummond, I'm like, what the heck is he doing? Yep. Joel Embiid's not even available. Yo. I don't see that happening at all. Mav need defense, starting shooting guard, starting small forward, and starting center. So you have to choose free agents wisely to share the cap space between at least 3 guys. I don't think they're going to be able to add 3 significant, and I don't mean significant in terms of like, it has to be like a Klay Thompson to be considered significant. Obviously that would be, but no, I don't think they're going to get 3 starters out of free agency, 3 quality starters out of free agency. I don't. I think they're going to mix with what they already have, and I think you can add 2 starters of some note, of some quality note, and that's probably what we're going to be looking at now. It's not a 1-year thing, guys. Like, I know it's tough to be patient. We got Luka, and so some people are wanting to be like, all right, now we want to add these 3 guys here. No, you get 1. We got 2 because we did the KP trade. You might be able to get 1 or 2 next year. Maybe before the deadline you add another one, but it's tough to add that many pieces in such a short time without just exhausting your resources. So yeah, you want to look at what the market is and what you can do with it, but the odds of adding 3 quality starters feel like a little bit of a stretch in one offseason. You have to admit, this year blew you away with Luka. You didn't see that coming. Watch what happens with the unicorn. I knew Luka was going to be good. I knew he was going to be in the running at the very, 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 very least for Rookie of the Year. Innie and I obviously took different sides of that debate just because it was kind of like when Tiger Woods was in his heyday, and we were looking for things where we could disagree for the purpose of the freaking bet. And so that ended up being one where it was like me basically doing the equivalent of taking the field against Tiger Woods, even though Woods was the heavy favorite. Tomas, Pat Bev, and Aminu Dedmon would be a damn good starter haul. Dedmon would be a very good low-cost center. I've come around on Dedmon considerably. Dedmon is definitely my under-the-radar, underrated addition to add. I think you can add him. Cheap Pat Bev, I would be thrilled with that. I've been, pretty much since that was first introduced as a possibility, I've been high on Patrick Beverley in Dallas. Aminu, hey, it would only be right to finally bring him back home because before we had, he was our guy beforehand, and we got him from New Orleans on a cheap deal. He was a free agent, I believe, and we had him for a couple of years, I want to say. Maybe it was just the 1 year against Houston in that playoff series when Parsons was out with the knee, and then he went and took a big deal with Portland, now he's available again, a very good 3-and-D guy at this point. He's improved his three-point shot, I should point out. He was more of an athletic defender before and a little bit of a slasher, but I think he's improved his three-point shot, so I should correct it saying it that way. But Aminu would be a nice haul. I would be curious how much of the cap he would eat up for that. No matter what its relevance, the man Luka has captured the hearts of Dallas. Doesn't happen unless it's real, for sure. Bleacher Report just tweeted the Lakers are also expected to pursue Kawhi. Odd, feels good to hit the Lakers again. The world's starting to have balance. They won't have the cap until, like Max was talking about, to add a guy like that, they wouldn't have it until the end of July, apparently. So I don't think they're going to have the ability to. But they're also interested in Kemba Walker. And I don't think Kawhi is going to want to go play second fiddle to LeBron. I don't think that's going to be it at all. I think he's probably going to go to the Clippers. With the AD trade, I think it's super obvious. The Mavs need a defensive big. Who do you see as the ideal fit? Yeah, I was just talking about that a second ago. Uncle Slomo 72. Yeah, Deadman would be a great addition next to KP. And then a 3-and-D type guy, you could get like an Aminu would be a good add. Pat Bev would be a good defensive backcourt player. So that'd probably be along my thoughts there. Jeremy Lamb, Tobias Harris, and Valanciunas or Cantor. I don't want Cantor. I don't want Cantor at all. I know he had a good postseason with Portland for the most part, but he still got exposed by the Warriors. And I know a lot of guys get exposed by the Warriors, but OKC had to basically hide him out of their playoff rotation completely. He's too much of a defensive liability. Again, he played well for the most part throughout the postseason this year, but I don't want anything to do with Enes Kanter. Regarding Valanciunas, that's interesting because he opted out, so that's a guy that I would be curious about for sure. Tobias Harris, I still have reservations there as well. Let me see. Ranger King chimes in on that as well. Mavs aren't going after Cantor. Val is more expensive and is not happening. Harris is getting a max, and I would be happy with Lamb. Yeah, Jeremy Lamb, I haven't seen a lot of him in the last couple years, obviously being with Charlotte. I saw him when he was with the Thunder, and he could give you some stretches here and there where you saw a little something, but it felt like he couldn't put it together. Obviously, he's been gone a while. He had a good last stretch, especially to the end of this year that I was seeing with Charlotte. But I don't know a whole lot more about him. I would have to take a deeper look at him at this point. Rangers King telling you Sato would be so nice for the Mavs team. Athletic, check. Shooter, check. Smart, check. And a decent defender. Well, there you go. There's another name I can look into as well. Let's see here. So I finally caught up to everything. And, hey, the storm looks like it's letting down a little bit here. That's good. So, let's see. We've been going about an hour. I got time for a couple more quick questions if you guys have them. If you want to hit that, just tag at the Dallas Prospect in the chat there, and I will try and answer those questions real quick. I got time for like 3 more, and then I'll wrap up this stream here, and we'll get any back on here for the next one next Sunday probably. Let's see. Yeah, Sadaransky. Let's see. Who is another free agent people have interest in? Vucevic rumors have gone cold. Do you think we're interested? Nah. I think the interest was overstated in the first place. I don't think the Super Euro team is the direction they're going to go. As far as the issues with him, I know he was like a roughly 20-10 big man, all-star in the East. But he had a really bad postseason, and that's not the everything. That's not the end-all, be-all, but that is something to take note of. He had a rough postseason. He's a slow-footed, not great defender big, and there's some concern there for that. I think you got to have the right skill set to pair with KP, and I don't know necessarily that fits perfectly. Sometimes we look at things and we just say, well, hey, if KP was a 23-7, player before, and then you put next to him another 20-10 guy, and then you got Luka, who's a 20 he'll be more than that next year, I think. But Luka, as a rookie, was a 20-6 guy. Like, you look at all those things, you're like, oh, what's not to like? Well, you got to also consider defense, and you have to consider, things of that nature. So I think that gives some pause, and you got to think of the right combinations, and there's only so many shots and touches to go around. So all things to keep an eye on. We ought to do brief 15 to 20 minute stream on options for pick 37 pre-draft. Yeah, we should be able to do something like that for sure. Let's see here. So before I wrap up this stream, guys, if there aren't any more questions, let's see. Do cornrows as a punishment for the next bet, please. Cornrows. I don't think I can go that far. My day job's a little bit of a professional type, so that would be hard for me to pull off, even if I only tried to do it for the stint of one stream. I don't even know if that's something that could be put in and then taken out in the course of like a day. So I don't know about that one, but we'll find something. We'll find something like that. Terrence Ross, Jeff Green, Valanciunas. That would be enough to make a pretty good playoff push. Terrence Ross, yeah. I'm a little iffy on that. Jeff Green, he's a nice okay small forward. I've seen him, obviously. He's been around for a while, playing with the Thunder, playing with Boston, playing with the Grizzlies. I think he went to the Clippers for a little bit. Where else has he been? Is that the last place he went? I've lost track. He's bounced around so much in recent years. Would you throw a max sheet to Brogdon? Yes, I would. Valanciunas. You think 10 million? Max says maybe more than that. I got to look more at Valanciunas because I haven't taken a close look at him in terms of what he would command as far as salary. I feel like it's higher than 10, though. I'm pretty sure I've heard that. Dwight Powell gets 10, and I feel like he's done more and has more name value to him, probably. Thoughts on Terrence Ross? I think he's a nice player. I think he's a good rotation player. I don't think I want to make him my starter, though. How long do you expect Kostas to develop into future center for the Mavs? Asks Dave Park 14. How long do I expect him into a future center? I don't think he's going to be a center, first of all. I think he's going to take... I think next year you'll see him get some more minutes. Hopefully, assuming everything continues to develop, you'll see him get more minutes on the main roster. And I think year 3 might be when you see him crack a regular rotation role with us. But I think he's more raw coming in than Giannis was. And I don't think his ceiling is as high, but he is an athletic freak as well. Little Greek freak light, Greek freak junior. Not junior, technically, because it's his brother. But I do think it's probably looking more along that line. And with that being the case, I think he's probably going to be somewhere around year 3, year 4, where you see him really break in. I know it's hard to be patient in today's age, but I think you got to remember, man, we picked him up, pick 60? Like the last pick? Yeah, it's something you got to consider that. It's a project. It's a promising project, but it's a project. And sometimes the Mavericks have shown themselves not to have patience with the projects. Ray Spalding, for instance, I'm still not over losing him. We let him go to Phoenix for nothing. I know we waived him to do the KP deal, and then he wound up there. I wasn't thrilled about that. I know he still needs time. He's still raw as well, but I had high hopes for Ray Spalding down the road. We need Seth Curry for backup. That's a name that'll be examined, but I don't think he's a great defender either. We need more positional size, which is why I want him. Ray Spalding is gone. When we traded for Kristaps Porzingis, we had to waive a player to make the player count swap fit, and they chose Ray Spalding, unfortunately, while keeping Salah Mejri, who I'm still out on. I know he's improved the last year or so, but I'm still just not a fan of having Salah, honestly. And so Ray Spalding got waived, got picked up by the Suns, and then he signed a 2-year deal. And he had like a 20-14 game or something late in the year. Now, I know it was a lot of scrub minutes, and Phoenix was in tank mode, but still, I think there's something to him. Keep up the good work. Appreciate your input. Salute. Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks Uncle Slomo72 for the input. But that's going to wrap up my time, guys. I've been going for an hour. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I will be back sooner. It's not going to be a week off again like we had this last time. Just hang tight. Keep looking for more content. Look for more pre-recorded content as well, stuff that I edit and produce. And other than that, just remember, every legend was once a prospect. Salute. Wrong animation! Wrong animation! Yeah.